What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Taking a look at this Labrynth Traptrix deck, where I like to call it Labtrick. Basically, the two archetypes get together. And the thing is, like, when I thought about this, I was like, okay, well, I want to play Labrynth, but one thing I hate more than anything in Yu-Gi-Oh! I just really hate it, is Floodgates. I know, like, the best version of Labrynth, of course, Skill Drain and TC Boot and all this other stuff, but those are boring, and I don't like to play boring decks. I'd rather play a worse deck if it's more fun. And this is the epitome of what it means to have a fun deck. So I'm going to go ahead and showcase all of that right now. I'm going to go over the deck profile, and then I have some gameplay after. Of course, the new Traptrix structure deck is coming out. And the whole idea, right, Sera is triggered by normal trap effects. So what's one of the best cards you could ever, pair together? Big Welcome Labrynth. You have Sera and Big Welcome Labrynth together, you are cooking with gas. It's just those two cards alone. So Parallel Exceed. This is one of the best decks to play Parallel Exceed. Sera is a link 1 that points down. That's all you need to know. This is a rank 4 engine at its heart, and they two, I couldn't tell you, they just work perfectly together. And then I do run a fairly small Labrynth package. So Lady Labrynth, when a normal trap is activated, you could set a different one. So I like to play a lot of one of tech choices, and obviously those all work really, really, really well with the trap pool cards because they're all normal traps. Lady Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle. This card is so good, and Big Welcome Labrynth luckily special summons from hand, deck, or graveyard, which is huge, super important, because normally if this card's in your hand, man, it is so rough, because Welcome Labrynth only summons from deck, and Big Welcome Labrynth is just exclusively better. And there's this really cool interaction. I'm sure I'll show it at least once, but a lot of the times you can search out Traptrix, this new card. I don't even want to try to say it, okay? This one that you're looking at on your screen, okay? You summon this out to the field. It's a free special summon. You activate Big Welcome Labrynth. You bring out the Lovely Labrynth, and then you have to bounce a card back to your hand. But then you can just bounce back this card, which then gets to freely special summon itself again during your opponent's turn. You lose no advantage, and more importantly, it also triggers Lovely Lady, or Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle immediately. When any card is sent back to the hand, it doesn't have to be your opponent's card, just any card. It triggers the effect to either destroy a card in your opponent's hand, which is amazing, insane, right? That a trap deck can like touch your opponent's hand in any sort of fashion, or it can pop a card on your opponent's field. And then, of course, this card gets to set any normal trap. So it gets to reset all your trap hole cards, which are extremely good. Don't let anybody fool you. These trap hole cards are still incredible in 2023, especially more, and I'll talk about later. I've gone back and forth in this card because it just hard loses to Ash, and that's just very unfortunate. But you get Arion, and its effect goes through. Oh my goodness, you have such a crazy. So this is the play, and I'm sure you'll see it a bunch of times in these replays. You normal summon, send a normal trap, from your hand, right? I think it's from field too, in your hand or set, so that's very good. And then you get to special summon a level 4 Labrynth. Level 4 or lower Fiend monster. Okay, that's another important caveat. But almost all the time you're going to summon an Ariana, and that's going to search you Big Welcome Labrynth. Then you can overlay these two to make the new card that's coming out. This card lets you search a card. So what you're going to do is you're going to search Big Welcome Labrynth. You're going to make this rank 4, and you're going to search the new card, which is this card. Like, why would you name a card like that? No one's going to be able to pronounce that, but you're going to search this one out from the deck, and what you're going to do is, Sera requires one non-link Traptrix monster, not a normal deck monster, not a level 4 or lower. It's any non-link. So what you can do is you search a card. This card doesn't really have any important effect other than searching, so you're going to flip this over into Sera, and then you can activate the effect of the card you just searched. That's going to trigger Sera. Sera can search you a trap, and you're off to the races, right? Big Welcome Labrynth plus any trap hold trap, you are in such a crazy advantage off of it because it's just going to like snow pile again during your opponent's turn. So very, very good. This is Dionia. So Dionia, when it's special summon, brings back a hole from the graveyard. That's very good for advantage. But when it's normal summon, it brings back a level 4. So like I said, the heart of this deck, like really the heart of this deck, is a rank 4 engine. And this card pairs really, really well with this one. So you can, normal, or it works really well with this card, excuse me. What are these card names? Pudica? Like, really? Okay, so you're going to normal summon this card, search the field spell. It gives you an extra normal summon. So you can normal summon this card, go into Sera. activate the field spell, normal summon Diania, bring this back, triggering Sera, and then you get to go into any rank 4 of your choice, which I'll talk about all of that, and you'll see it in the gameplay video. So very, very important card. I like it because of that normal summon, bring back. It's a 1-card rank 4. 2 copies of Murmello. There's a lot of spells and traps in this format right now, so I used to run this at 1, now I run it at 2. This is another card that is either good in your hand, or you can bring it out. It's special summon itself back from the graveyard if you control no spells and traps. Has come up before, especially in those really, really grindy games. It's just that one more rank 4 body that you need, or it's a free special summon, so it's just a card that I think is a good one of, because everything's accessible, right? Sera special summons from the deck essentially every turn. This is the new card I've been talking a lot about. It's very, very good. It locks you into plant and insect monsters, but only from the extra deck, so does not directly mess with Parallel Exceed. You can still use the effect, which is really important. This is the new one. When it's special summon, it banishes an opponent's special summon monster, which can be very important. But normally you're going to normal summon to grab the field spell. So every time your Traptrix monster will be destroyed, they aren't. And that's very, very good, because Sera is an 800 attack body that just sits there, doesn't really do anything. Attack-wise, I should say. It does a lot of things. Now, I have replaced the new Traptrix trap card. It special summons itself by discarding a normal trap, and it certainly has its uses, and maybe you want to play one of those because it's searchable, and that's extremely valid, and I'll show it a slot where you could probably definitely do that. But being able to draw 2 cards is very good, and especially if you can discard anything, because it doesn't really matter, because you can either reset it with Diania, or you can just bring it back as well. You can set it again with lovely Labrynth. So there's really no drawback in this card, which is really, really cool. That's why I like it a lot. I didn't use this card before. I totally just missed out on it. It's literally a draw 2, and that's amazing. It has another effect where a banished trap can go back into the deck, and that's always cool, especially because it works so well at Traptrix, right? You can just put an extra copy in. That way, essentially another copy of that Traptrix is alive for that exact same trap, right? You banish one, you set one. Well, if you bring back the banished one, then you have another one in your copy, so you can use it again. The cards work really, really well together. So I love this card. Must include for me. This is the field spell I've been talking about. Big welcome Labrynth, right? It's also a compulsory evacuation the next turn. And then this is what I use for my package. So I used to have a really extensive trap hole package, but I've reduced it. Bottomless trap hole is insane. So insanely good against Fallen of Albaz. If their opponent's big out is to normal summon, Fallen of Albaz, and they have to discard a card, you just banish Fallen of Albaz. It has to use that card as material, so it just blanks. That's really good. Time Space Trap Hole also really good against essentially everything. This is one of the most important hole cards, so I think you could maybe drop this card if you wanted to play the Labrynth, the new Trap Hole, card that special summons itself. It's right here. These names, Holuda, Holuti. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? But I've been really happy with these, right? This protects you against a beer, against a whole lot of things. Just having this card, Rafflesia is still so good, right? It's an extra trap card that's a monster that triggers Sera. What more could you possibly ask for? Especially when you can bring this out, right? Because you don't know essentially what your opponent's going to have, but you have access to all of them, through Rafflesia, and that's just still so good. And, being able to set them again, being able to use this card once is amazing, but being able to use them every single turn is just so overwhelming that if you go into a grind game, of course, it's the strength of this deck. You're never going to lose, almost ever. So Time Space is super good against Kashtira, right? Special Summon Unicorn, whoop, see you later. Not going to be there, right? Or if they go into the rank 7, it can't be destroyed by battle, but this negates, right? It shuffles it right back into the extra deck, and that's obviously very good. This protects against hand effects and graveyard effects. Floodgate Trap Hole. RIP to Kashtira players when you activate this card, right? Have to control no monsters. Your opponent just just set that card. Your opponent can't special summon monsters, right? There's the Scareclaw one, but they have to have certain cards in your hand, and that's one interruption, right? It kills them so badly. It's one of the best cards against Kashtira, and normally no one would play this usually, but right, because you have access to it from the deck essentially every single time, no matter what, that's what makes it so good. Compulsory Evacuation is really, really good. If you open it, you open up Compulsory Evacuation. Who could possibly be mad? It's still a good card, right? But normally it's one of those Silver Castle, targets. Dimensional Barrier is the same thing, right? You just want to have those one of the decks. If you draw them, that's cool. If you don't, then whatever. Now, here's your going second cards, and I'll talk about my going second theory here in just a second, but I do start with Evenly Matched. It's a normal trap, so it can trigger, right? Late games, like, it's come up. Maybe in one of the replays you have some of my replays get corrupted, so I don't really know what's even going to be on here, but it's a good, like, powerful, right? If you can't play that many going second cards, like, the ones that you play better be super powerful. They're also targets for Traptrix, right? They trigger a bunch of your cards, so that's why I play Imperm, because it's a normal trap, right? Searchable through Traptrix, it's searchable through Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle, and I think they work out pretty well. Infinite Permanence is also just a really incredible card, especially when you play some of these, like, super floodgatey type decks, or, like, being able to just, the secondary effect of Imperm is so good, it's so underrated. This card is, like, infinitely usable. It's one of the best cards that I think, just, like, in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In terms of a utility card. It's like, it just feels like a must include. And then I talked about Traptrix, how good these cards are, right? I think this is kind of the deck it was supposed to be designed for. I think those are, right, they look exactly like the Traptrix monsters. It's not a trap hole card, but it might as well be. Going on to the extra deck. So this is the new one I talked about. It searches the, the new insect one, which is great, right? Because then you can just turn it to Sera. I talked about that. Rafflesia, I talked about how good it was. Definitely want to run 2 copies of Sera. Like, your opponent's going to get over 1 99% of the time. Never had to go to a third one. I've never needed that extra deck spot for the third Sera. Baguska is decent as a target, right? If you just, like, special summon Sera, activate it, right, go into Parallel Exceed, go into Baguska, it's kind of like Salamangreat. Very, very similar, but it does lock you out. But the thing is, like, when it's an attack position, your opponent it can't be destroyed by card effects, and your opponent can't target it. So those are 2 very, very good things, right? That if you want to go into Zeus, it's a pretty good package. And also just Baguska is like a pretty good stall card. Try to make a lot of good avenues to Zeus, because the biggest problem is, like, your opponent's going to try to destroy that card before you can go into Zeus. And this kind of helps you, accomplish that. I do run F-Zero. Truthfully, I think you could probably take these cards out. So this kind of goes along also with Gaga Magician. So, like, these cards are going to go pretty quickly. So, like, a lot of the times, and there's definitely been a few. I can't say that I've never used it before, where you go into the later stage of the game, you go into Gaga Magician, bring back one of these, and go into F-Zero. And that normally puts you, like, way over the top, and that's obviously pretty decent. This card's very, very good. So if you can do it, you can. If you want to put 3 more, like, rank 4 spots here, I don't really know it would be so worth it, Maybe if you want to go into, I can't think of the darn names now, but the ones that let you, like one of them lets you attack directly, gives you a 2-pop Zeus, so maybe that's even, like, just better. But a lot of the times what I find myself in is that I need some sort of rank 4 that disrupts my opponent more than I need something that can, like, go into Zeus, like, so much more of the time. One thing that is really, really good in this deck, and I think just blinding it is so good in this format, especially because Fallen of Albaz is, it's not very good against Kashtira, but I'm pretty sure, like, some of these Kashtira cards, and I could be dead wrong, I think one of them's a dark. It's literally the only one they don't have, so never mind on that one. Arise Heart's a dark, so technically, there is a target for it, but the thing is that Constellar Diamond, prevents your opponent from sending cards to the graveyard. It's an FDK against Fallen of Albaz, unless they have Super Poly, right? Unless they have Dark Ruin or more, but that's just one card, right? This one card can win you. If your opponent has the answer for it, then you just have all these other interruptions, during your opponent's turn. This is almost just like a free rank 4, and I think if you can only go into 1 rank 4 in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, I feel like Constellar Diamond is definitely your best option when you're playing a deck like this. And that's just what I've, seen through testing, right? Your opponent cannot start by activating Fallen of Albaz or at any point during the turn unless they deal with this. That's a problem for your opponent. Abyss Dweller is just another one of those, like, generic 4s. Tornado Dragon and Castel. 100% Castel should be in this list. I'm not going to... Being able to get rid of, like, there was a time I was playing 101, and that's fine. That's definitely a card. But the very important part here, it targets a face-up card on the field and shuffles it into the deck. You never know. I've had so many times where I needed to not send one of my opponent's cards to the graveyard, and this card does exactly that. Very, very good. There's a lot of times when my opponent's had a big monster. I use the first effect. Target a card, change it to face down, right? That way I can beat over it. And that's very important. Now, here's my theory. and you can make your own opinions on this. And like, I'm never very good at a side deck, and in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's always so different, but your opponent's going to see that you're playing some sort of combo based, deck. And this isn't very good going second, but what you can do is, technically speaking, right, what you can do is you can get rid of, when you're going second, this card's not good going second. If your opponent doesn't have any form of disruption going second, and they're not ready for your normal summon, like, what are they doing? So what you can do is you can take out these cards, these 4, replace them with sphere mode. You can take out, dimensional barrier. You can take out some of these trap hole cards if they don't have usability. You can take out some of your more normal summons, right? You can take out so many of these different cards and just play essentially normal Labrynth, something that your opponent just would not expect to play against, right? These lava golems. And then you can also play welcome Labrynth, right? Like, if you're going to play a floodgatey type deck, well, you might as well go all the way with it, right? If you're not going to really go into your Traptrix engine as much, then you can play, your opponent like tries to just beat you, right, with all these big monsters on the board. Sphere mode, right? Sera. You just go boop, sphere mode, see you later. And then you just set skill drain, you set big welcome Labrynth, you set, welcome Labrynth, all these cards, and then you play like normal Labrynth does. Because these cards really can play around those like really, really well. So, skill drain, lava golem, welcome Labrynth can just come back in, and then you can play extra copies of this. You can take out like a Mermello, you can take out an extra Dionia, because it's a free special summon, right? If you can go into Sera, you can go great, because here's the interaction between skill drain and Sera. Whatever's up first goes into effect, because Sera is unaffected by all trap effects. And I think Rafflesia is too, unaffected by traps. But if skill drain's already up, both of these cards are negated. So whatever the first floodgate up is the one that goes into effect. So it would be great, right, if you just sphere mode your opponent's huge board. You can like special summon possibly, right? And that would obviously be pretty cool. And then you set skill drain, right? So when skill drain's activated, it can, it doesn't have anything to do with Sera. It doesn't have anything to do with Rafflesia. And that's, the benefit. So it's kind of an interesting theory. I don't know what you guys think about that. But let's jump over into some replays. Just a little bit of extra bonus here. This is against Sera. This is a really, really good opening, right? Toon's going to be able to search me. And that's why another reason why I play, Imperm, right? He's going to Ash, and that's usually, like, really bad. But, like I said, this one card gives you so much advantage. Now, I actually already had the special summon in my hand, so that's kind of unfortunate, to be honest with you. Because I guess I'm really all I'm going to do is search follow-up, right? I can search Dionia, and it's, like, certainly not horrible, like, to no one's standards. But I'm going to go ahead and special summon here. That's going to trigger the Sera, so I get to search. Now, this is more than you're going to need. Trust me, this is enough to beat Sera unless they open up something crazy, right? Like a Lava Golem. But my opponent's going to search the field spell, and that's obviously very good. So not a great start, because the field spell is like kind of like hard to play around, in this deck. But what you're going to see here is my opponent is going to special summon here. Unicorn is going to go ahead and banish it, and that's it, right? Now, if my opponent had more things, I can activate Big Welcome Labrynth. I can bring that out, bounce the insect to my hand, pop his card, or pop a card in his hand, depending on what he had. All those things come into factor. But if he doesn't start with Unicorn, he doesn't have anything else, then, there's not really much he's going to be able to do. Even if he had, Fenrir, that doesn't really do much either. And you're going to see a few more here, but I thought that was pretty cool. Right? Just like Arion is insane, and that's why I wanted to play that. And this is that bottomless trap hole, one that I wanted to show. And that's the great thing too, right? Like I start off with Ariane, and I had evenly matched, which doesn't seem great, but I do need a normal trap descent, so it just ends up being fuel, right? It's just a free card. These cards kind of conflict with each other, so it's kind of like sucks to see both in your hand, because you want to normal summon that card for its effect, but this is just a way better line of play in my opinion. And I also had Parallel Exceed, so I'm gonna have a really, really good hand here. I can turn those into Rafflesia. Now I can trigger there. That's going to search for another whole card. I could have gone a Constellar, but I think this is just a little bit better. Just look at how much interruption I have. This is incredible. It doesn't really seem like much, but it is. Rafflesia protects all of your Traptrix monsters except itself, which is bizarre, but he's going to go ahead and try to, use my monsters. I'm just going to go ahead and say bottomless trap hole. Don't have to trigger, Sera yet. And that's another really cool thing. So I think like a big deficiency when it comes to Traptrix is like it's very reactive. Like if you play like regular Traptrix, like you kind of like cannot activate Sera unless your opponent actually does something to play into those cards. Now, them playing kind of naturally does that, but you want to be able to use sometimes like Mermello whenever you want. And I'm going to go ahead and just pop another card here. I probably shouldn't have triggered Sera. That was like a bad mistake by me. I could have waited a lot longer, but yeah, I think that's just really, really cool. So he's going to go for, the fusion card. He's going to summon out Cartesia, but that's fine. I still have more and more interruption. I think he searched out the fusion, and I think I went for Labrynth hoping I could pop it out of his hand. I think I had like a 33% chance. It didn't work out, but I ended up taking another card, and there's not really much that he can do, right? The negate there is only for extra deck monsters. It's only a 2500 attack body. Doesn't really do anything, so no problem there. The Labrynth cards are pretty big bodies, like, right? It's like 2900, I'm pretty sure. And one, I believe, gets up to the 3K mark, and that's pretty cool too. This is a better one against Cashier that you'll see here. Potentially going -2 is just very bad, but when you're playing a deck like this, it's just super worth it when it comes to consistency. There's Puddle Exceed, it's just a free card, so good. He's going to Ash that, a bit random, but I'm going to go ahead and discard 2 and draw a couple. I draw into the new free special summon, which triggers Sera. And then I have Dimensional Barrier, Hole, and then I can go also into Rafflesia. Very, very cool. He's going to go for Unicorn, and then I'm going to go for Floodgate Trap Hole, right? Boop, see you later. Now he's going to go into the Scareclaw one. He's got to get 2 extras, right? He's got to get 2 of them. So he's going to go for Fenrir. I'm just going to go ahead and banish that, right? These cards don't, like, the Cashier cards do not pair well together, because they don't trigger until the next turn, right? It's not like a quick effect, like Fenrir. It's got to start on a new chain. So if it gets banished, it's not going to be able to do anything. And then all I have to do is pop his access. Like, Birth is a really insane card. Once per turn, Monster Reborn for these cards is just absolutely insanity. But, was able to get rid of it with the Murmello. Just having any answer with Sera, such a versatile card. Rafflesia also protects, so just a really good one to go into. This is against Labrynth, and just to showcase like how different these cards, like Stove and the Field Spell, like this deck just feels significantly better, and he just like fires everything off, I think, in the draw phase. So like, why activate Big Welcome Labrynth? Like, what are you doing? Why not flip this card back to your hand, because it could just freely special summon itself too? He's going to activate Big Welcome too. He's going to bring out another silver. Like, playing more of one of these cards, I think, is just like a sin. He's going to get all these cards, but like, they don't do anything. Like, you could have used them to interrupt me, but you didn't. But I'm just going to go ahead and activate Evenly Match. He's going to keep a Silver Castle. That's fine, right? It's good to send those whole cards, and just like, I think the dichotomy of those, like seeing that the other Labyrinth cards to me are just not worth it. Sending a bunch of cards to your graveyard is bad. Like, I know that you can get the, like, one of the main deck monsters can set them, but that's in a vacuum, and like, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't really exist in a vacuum at all. This is against Runic. Kind of an interesting matchup. Really not too bad, to be honest with you. Seeing this card in your hand's a bit unfortunate for sure, but this card lets you send a normal trap or I think a plant monster, insect or plant monster, or a normal trap, and draw 2 cards. Very, very good. He's going to go for Runic Fountain. The Dark Door lets only 1 monster attack at a time. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and draw 2. He's going to activate Rivalry and Gozen, but if you guys play Labrynth, you know that card does absolutely nothing. Oh, I don't know if I talked about Token Collector, but I talked about how the Arion can special summon a level 4 or lower Fiend. Token Collector's a Fiend, so very good against Sword Soul. Like, in archetype, access to, Token Collector from the deck is really good, right? Because it can special summon itself from the graveyard. And, or you can just, you can use it for the materials you need for the, your Traptrix stuff, which is great, right? You can search out the insect, go into Sera, and so on and so forth, while also still having, Token Collector in your graveyard, which is really good against the Adventure Engine, very good against Sword Soul, which are merging, like, big time right now. Big, big time. All right, this is against, I think, like a Synchron deck. My opponent's going to start with Junk Converter, which is, like, by far the best play starter in the entire deck, because, like, it's a 1-card Junk Speeder. And really, you should probably just play, like, a Small World Bridge to get there, but obviously I'm going to go ahead and negate there. So, not the best going second deck, but it can work out. Now, this is a really interesting kind of dichotomy here. This Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So I have to play this really safe, right? Because it's like a once per turn monster negate. So I have to like essentially try to trigger it out. And I'm going to go for Sera here. We'll see what ends up happening. He's going to go for Synchron Overdrive. Trying to proctor out the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Doesn't happen. So I am at least going to be able to protect my back row a little bit. So the great thing is that this is a monster negate. It has nothing to do with these, like, you know, trap cards here in the back. He's not going to be able to negate those. So if he's going to go for Junk Speeder here. I think I'm just going to wait this out. I don't think he can go into Baron. We'll see. He's going to go for Power Tool. I'm just going to go ahead and negate there. He's going to get over my board. And then during the end phase, I'm going to activate, you know, Big Welcome Labrynth. I can add Arion back to my hand, which is great because if I top deck a normal trap card, I can make my plays. Now, that was unfortunate. I wasn't able to, but that's okay. I was able to get rid of his Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon very carefully, very slow, and very methodically. You know, the trap cards worked really well in my favor. Now I can just re-summon that out. Normal summon Murmello, which is fine, right? It's either normal trap, and that's like the second best option because I can just, you know, search another whole card, set 2, and I'm kind of off to the races. I thought that was really, really fun. I thought that was like a cool little duel there to be able to play around Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. You know, that's the advantages of these trap cards, and that's kind of the unique playability, right? I hate playing Floodgates like I talked about earlier, and I think this is just like objectively more fun, right, to see that. Evenly matched Murmello. I can draw 2 cards. That's always a good thing. He's going to set forward pass, so let's see what ends up happening. Draw my second Murmello. Kind of unfortunate, but not really. I'm going to normal summon more Mellow. He's going to flip up Skill Drain. That's fine. Right, that Labrynth plays Skill Drain. It's not perfect, right? And you want to be able to activate those cards. And like I said, Skill Drain was up first, so this card is negated. But he's going to bring out 2 trades. That's fine. I can activate Big Welcome Labrynth, right? Put Sera back into my extra deck. Otherwise, you'd just be able to beat over it, right? Its effect is all messed up, and that's pretty much it. So he's going to go for the rank 4. I'm going to go for Traptrix. I can't really trigger that, so I don't know really. I don't know why I did that, but you know, I can search Imperm. Really, just I know it's like Skill Drain's up, but I don't really have another great target. And maybe like I can play extra copies of something else. I don't know, but I'm going to want to, you know, activate these cards, right? I can bounce that back to the hand. Big Welcome Labrynth is insane. Such a good card. So good. And then I can set 2, right? I can go ahead and get over this. And I'm off to the races. You know, Dimensional Barrier is very, very good against trains. I can't really do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back to the hand. That's going to trigger Lovely, so I can get rid of one of the cards in his hand. It's Skill Drain. He's only working with 1 card. I think he gets to draw 1 or bring something back, but that's fine. Still have Compulsory Evacuation. I still have Dimensional Barrier. And this is cool, man. He's going to try to activate the trap card from the graveyard. I'm just going to blank it with Dimensional Barrier. It negates all, like, this I didn't even know. Negate the effect of all monsters. Now I'm, oh, they can't, okay. It doesn't say special summon from the extra deck. It means you cannot special summon extra deck monsters, right, other than links. So he tries to special summon the XYZ from the graveyard by triggering a link, but he can't. And that's really, really cool. And I can, you know, trigger the Lovely in my hand. That's obviously very good, so I can get another normal trap card. I already destroyed the Skill Drain in his hand, so that's not doing anything either. So that was a super fun one. I thought that was a really cool replay. And then here is the last one. So this is insane. Obviously, very, very good hand. So I'm going to go ahead and normal summon, grab the Garden. That can turn into Sera. And then I can activate the field spell. I still have Parallel Exceed as well. I think my opponent's literally going to scoop. So this is going to help me go into Constellar Diamond. And I can normal summon. Mantis lets me search. So I'm going to search out the plant, or the insect one. All of these are actually plants except for the new ones. I think, right? Yeah, the new one's a plant. That's kind of interesting. The rest are insects. But I'm going to go into Constellar Diamond. I can't special summon from the extra deck, but I can still do it during the draw phase. Doesn't make that much of a difference. But Compulsory Evacuation, Big Welcome Labrynth. My opponent cannot send cards to the graveyard. I could have gone into another rank 4, but I'd rather protect my back row. I think that's like way more important right now versus just going into that rank 4, right? I have so much interruption, so that's obviously pretty decent. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.